Hello guys, welcome back. So today we'll be starting with a new topic, that is descending tracks. Now descending tracks means what? Motor functions. Okay, descending means moving downwards. That is, your brain will command to your nerves and those nerves will go and then supply to the target organs and then your organs will perform the action. So moving downwards. Right now I am writing. So motor function I am doing. Okay, so my descending tracks are working right now. Now this descending tract is divided into two. So this descending tract is divided into two tracts, that is pyramidal tract and extrapyramidal tract. Now what is pyramidal tract and what is extrapyramidal tract? So a tract which will pass through the pyramids will be known as pyramidal tract, and the tracts which won't pass from the pyramids, it passes from basal ganglia. Okay, so the pyramidal tracts. Now where are the pyramids present? You have this, right? Brain stem, midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. Now this medulla oblongata, it has like these structures. These are known as medullary pyramids. Okay, so this medullary pyramid, so the tract passing through the medullary pyramids. Tracts passing through the medullary pyramids. These tracts are termed as pyramidal tracts. Now the extrapyramidal tracts. Tracts passing through the basal ganglia. Now what is basal ganglia? This basal ganglia, you can term it as basal nuclei also. It consists of some nuclei. Now this basal ganglia is located below the cortex. So what will be the nuclei called? Subcortical nuclei. There are types of nuclei. Among them one will be substantia nigra, which we'll be doing in pharmacology. It's related to a disease known as Parkinson disease. Okay, we'll be also doing it when we will be doing pathophysiology. Okay, so tracts passing through the basal ganglia. So remember that basal ganglia, this has subcortical because it's below the cortex. So subcortical nuclei, it consists of subcortical nuclei. Understood? Now, this pyramidal tracts are divided into two. What is it? Pyramidal tracts are divided into two tracts. Further, corticospinal and corticobulbar or corticonuclear. First, I'm writing about where they will decussate or what it is. First, let's know this corticospinal tract. This corticospinal tract is further divided into lateral corticospinal tract and anterior corticospinal tract. Okay. Now, the lateral corticospinal tract, they're decussate. What do you mean by decussation? Decussation is crossing over. So this decussation takes place below the medulla oblongata, or we also call it after the synapse, at the synapse. Now what it is, I'll be drawing a flow diagram of how the impulse is transmitted in the next slide. So you will know how this corticospinal and corticonuclear tracts work. Now why is it termed as corticospinal? From the cortex to the spinal cord. So such a tract was named as corticospinal tract. Now you have a lateral one and anterior one. This decussate, the lateral one decussate, that is they will cross over. Whereas anterior one, they do not decussate. Understood? Now, this lateral corticospinal tract is for your lower limb. It controls your lower limb functions. What it controls? Your lower limb functions. These one, they do not decussate, but they will do their crossover in the spinal cord at the synapse. We have in the spinal cords, right, the interneuron, the anterior, the posterior. So there they will be doing the synapse part. So they will cross over at the synapse in spinal cord part. Okay, and they will decussate after medulla oblongata, just after medulla oblongata. Understood? Now this corticonuclear, you have to remember that lower limb functions, which function, the motor function, is controlled by the lateral corticospinal tract. Now this corticobulbar or corticonuclear, the term was given from the cortex to the nuclei. When we were doing cranial nerves, I explained to you each cranial nerve is having their own nuclei situated in the midbrain, some in the pons, some in the medulla oblongata, right? So all the motor nuclei, we are learning about the motor tract, right? So from the cortex, the neurons will go to the motor cranial nerve nuclei. Then from there, the specific cranial nerve will go to the specific target organ, and then the function will be performed. Okay, so from the cortex to the nuclei, hence the term corticonuclear tract. It is also known as corticobulbar tract. Okay. So now let's start with the pyramidal tract diagram. Now draw this diagram along with me and make sure that you make the notes of the previous slide as well. Okay, so pyramidal tracts, two, right? Corticospinal and corticonuclear. First I'll be drawing the corticospinal tract. Okay, so starting with the cerebral cortex. Now the cerebral cortex. To be particular, it is the motor area. Which was the motor area? The precentral gyrus, right? We have already done in the previous videos. So from the cerebral cortex, the impulse will be sent to the internal capsule. Now what is this internal capsule? This internal capsule, it is a white matter which is situated between the thalamus and the basal ganglia. Okay, this is what you have to remember. No need to write this basal ganglia and thalamus. I'm just making it so that you remember where was internal capsule present. It is the white color matter. Okay. Now from the internal capsule, the impulse will go on to the brainstem. What comprises of brainstem? Midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. As I said before, this pyramidal tract, especially the corticospinal tract, the corticospinal tract will decussate right after the medulla oblongata. So decussation takes over. Decussation will take place over here. That is, they will cross over. Then they go into this white matter. I am drawing the spinal cord. Okay. So here the neuron is coming in, synapsing. So synapse occur in white matter of spinal cord. Where it occurs? In the white matter of spinal cord. Now then this impulse will move to the anterior horn cell. So moves to anterior horn cell. Why anterior horn cell? As I said before also in the previous video, that anterior horn cell is responsible, or the anterior column of the spinal cord is responsible for your motor functions. The posterior is, or the dorsal is responsible for your sensory, right? So move to anterior horn cell. Then this impulse will be taken up by the ventral rami. So through ventral rami, what do you mean by rami? Rami means branch. So ventral rami means anterior branch or ventral branch. So this ventral rami to the target organs. Understood? So this was the flow for the corticospinal tract. Just remember where the decussation is taking place, where the synapse is taking place. Understood? So we call something called as upper motor neuron lesion, lower motor neuron lesion. So if it is called upper motor tract lesion, if it's before the synapse, and it's after the synapse, we will call it as lower motor lesion. So write it down over here. Upper motor tract is before synapse. Lower motor tract is, this is important, so please remember it. Lower motor tract is after the synapse. Okay. Now you have a disease, right? A poliomyelitis. HOTS. High order thinking skill. Okay. So this poliomyelitis, in this what happens? The anterior horn cell is affected. Now, is the anterior horn cell before the synapse or after the synapse? It is after the synapse. So which tract lesion will it be? It's lower motor tract lesion. So poliomyelitis affects the anterior horn cell. Therefore, what is affect? Therefore, lower motor tract is affected, or lower motor neuron is affected. Okay, understood? Now I am marking the corticobulbar tract with a different color, a different shade. Again the same thing. From the cerebral cortex, the impulse came, particularly from the precentral gyrus, to the internal capsule. From the internal capsule, what happens is, now go back to the video, cranial nerves, in which I have told you that every cranial nerve has their own nuclei. Which tract are we studying about? The motor tracts, right? So there were cranial nerves which are completely motor, right? Or they perform both functions. So anyway, we are talking about the motor function. So from here, what you have to remember, that from the internal capsule, the tract or the impulse will move to a particular cranial nuclei. For example, if I talk about the trochlear nerve, which was cranial nerve number 4. Okay, so I said you before that this cranial nerve number 4 nuclei will be present where? It is present in the midbrain. So these neurons coming from the cerebral cortex will go and meet to the nuclei of the trochlear nerve, which is present in the midbrain. From the midbrain, then the trochlear cranial nerve will arise after the synapse with the cranial trochlear nuclei. Then from there, the trochlear nerve will go and give the information to the superior oblique muscle. This is how the function will be performed. Same way for the other cranial nerves. Whatever function or whatever cranial nerve is required, the synapse will be done with the same cranial nerve nuclei. Okay. So that was just for the example, how you should write it down. From the internal capsule, they go to specific or particular nuclei in brainstem. Okay. Synapse will be done. Okay, occurs here. Then from there, the cranial nerve will arise, specific cranial nerve. Okay, so if it's trigeminal, fifth cranial nerve. So fifth nuclei, depending if it's present in the midbrain, the function, or if it's in the pons function. Okay, so they will move accordingly. So from there, the trigeminal nerve will arise. They will supply there and go and supply the target organ. The cranial nerve arises go and supply target organ. Understood? So done with the corticospinal tract. So remember, yellow color is corticonuclear tract or corticobulbar tract. This blue color is corticospinal tract. Understood? Corticospinal tract was responsible mostly for your lower limb functions, whereas corticonuclear will be responsible for your neck and face, as it is connected with your cranial nerves. Okay, so this was about the pyramidal tracts. Now quickly let's move on to the extrapyramidal tracts. Okay, so starting quickly with the extrapyramidal tracts. Now, as I said before, this extrapyramidal tracts passes through the basal ganglia. Now, what was basal ganglia? I said before that basal ganglia has subcortical nuclei because it is present right below the cortex. This extrapyramidal tracts function is they control the involuntary function of muscles, like they'll control the muscle tone, they will control the muscle reflexes, balances, postures, etc. Okay, so it's involuntary function. So let's start with them. 5 tracts. We'll be studying about the 5 tracts in detail. Starting first with the vestibulospinal tract. First, let's write all the name. Vestibulospinal, olivary, reticulospinal, then the rubrospinal, then the tectospinal. Okay, now there's a mnemonic kind of thing for you to remember this, that is VOR square T. That is vestibulospinal, olivary, reticulospinal, rubrospinal, and tectospinal. So this way you can remember them, VOR square T. Okay, so each one has a nuclei. Now the vestibulospinal has a nuclei by the same name, vestibulospinal nuclei. Now this nuclei, it is also known as Dieter's nuclei. Remember this word. Kroc uses this word mostly. So Dieter's nuclei. Olivary nuclei has the olivary nuclei. Reticulospinal, they form the reticular formation. Okay. Then the rubrospinal. Rubro means red. So which nuclei it is? Red nuclei. Remember, rubro means red. Tectospinal has the same nuclei. Tectospinal nuclei. Let's do each function. Let's first finish off with the reticulospinal and the olivary. Very easy ones. Now this reticular formation is responsible for your sleep-wake. Sleep-wake is done by this. Okay. Sleep-wake cycle. 1 minute. Okay. So if they ask you a question, the person was slept for very too long, which tract it is because of the reticulospinal tract. Understood? Now the olivary function is still unknown, still under research. So function not known. Understood? Then let's do with the tectospinal tract. Tectospinal tract, it's having the nuclear tectospinal nuclei. Now it helps in maintaining movements related to head movements, basically helps in maintaining head movements related to vision. Okay, remember this, it has something relation with the superior colliculi of the midbrain as well as the optic nerve. So that's why it helps in maintaining our head movements related to vision. That's all you need to remember with this. And about this, let's do the important ones, the very important ones. Vestibulospinal, let's do first this one. This vestibulospinal, it stimulates extensors and inhibits flexures. Okay, so if one is activated, other has to get inhibited, right? Both cannot work simultaneously. So stimulates extensors and inhibits flexures. Okay, and you can remember it by that vestibulospinal contains E. So it stimulates extensors. This is how you can remember it. That's how I remembered it. Now the rubrospinal tract, it's first of all this red nuclei, it is present in midbrain. They ask the location of this nuclei, so remember it well. Then the function it stimulates flexures, the complete opposite function of the vestibulospinal. Stimulates flexures and inhibits extensors. So how I said you to remember it with the E, that vestibulospinal contains E, so it will stimulate the extensors. Rubrospinal doesn't contain E, right? So you can remember if that vestibulospinal is stimulating extensors, then what will rubrospinal stimulate? It will stimulate the flexures. This is what you have to remember. Understood? And I guess that's it. Thank you.